Ferrari, a name that evokes images of fast, sexy, and often red cars. They're at home tearing up the track or turning heads in town. These are cars that were born to race. These legendary machines were the dream of Enzo Ferrari, who turned his adolescent fantasy into reality. Ferraris are at the top of the automotive food chain. They occupy a rare realm of exotic cars that are built in small quantities. Like fine art, they're purchased by people who can afford to satisfy their passions. These are cars with racing pedigrees that sound as good as they look. It all began with the vision of one man, Enzo Ferrari. Ferrari fell in love with racing when he was just a young boy. It was an exciting sport that captured his imagination. It was thrilling being a spectator in the early days of the 20th century. People would line the roads to watch a race with no barriers between them and the cars. Whatever happened, you were right there. Ferrari was determined to remain at the center of this excitement throughout his life. But in 1914, the excitement of racing was pushed aside by war. The European continent exploded as the new technologies of the century were turned into killing machines. The simple joy of competition grew deadly. Enzo's brother Dino joined the military and went to work as part of the support crew for an Italian flying ace, Francesco Baracca. This aviation hero's symbol was a prancing horse. Ferrari would later use this as the logo for his cars. The war had a devastating effect on young Ferrari. He lost his father to pneumonia, and then his brother. Enzo was drafted when he turned 19, and ironically, for someone who would become famous for building exotic motorcars, he was assigned the duty of shoeing mules. He contracted pleurisy, and as the war ended, he was discharged. He joined the thousands of other former soldiers who were now looking for work. He was ready to find a way to take part in racing. The popularity of racing was starting to grow again, and Ferrari looked for an opportunity to become a driver. A small company gave this enthusiastic young man a chance to drive one of their cars. His career was launched. The little car that he drove was no match for the machines of the major manufacturers. He was gaining experience, but he wasn't winning. He needed to move to another racing team to get a better car. In 1920, Alfa Romeo asked Ferrari to join its roster of drivers. He wasn't destined to be a great driver, but he had the skill and desire to make a race team a success. He knew what made a good driver, how to get publicity, what makes a good car, and how it all fitted together so that races were won. Under Enzo's guidance, the Alfa Romeo team was built. These were some of the greatest drivers in the world. The team drove the crowds wild as they battled on the tracks of Europe. They won victory after victory. Unfortunately, Alfa Romeo's management decided that it had nothing more to prove. It withdrew from racing in 1932. Ferrari used this setback as an opportunity to grow his own racing team, the Scuderia Ferrari. Enzo took the stable of Alfa team drivers with him. Antonio Ascari, Achille Bazzi, Giuseppe Campari and Tazio Nuvolari started to win under Ferrari's prancing horse banner. One driver stood out among the rest, Tazio Nuvolari. He was the most talented and famous. He had an unorthodox driving style, and his pit stops turned into an emotional opera. His wild driving and charm endeared him to the fans. Winning endeared him to Ferrari. This team seemed to be unbeatable. Even though they weren't officially racing, Alfa kept providing the cars, and the drivers kept winning. By 1934, Alfa's motorsport reign was under attack. Mercedes-Benz and Auto Union launched an all-out effort to dominate Grand Prix racing. These two German teams fielded an array of stunningly fast new cars that were way ahead of the competition. Ferrari wasn't convinced that the Germans couldn't be beaten. Alfa had some new cars in the pipeline, and he believed he had the world's best drivers. But the Germans kept winning. The showdown would come at the 1935 German Grand Prix. The new Alfas weren't quite ready, but Ferrari had made some modifications to his 3-year-old cars that gave them more power. He pinned his hopes on Nuvolari to take on the Germans. Nuvolari drove flat out around the Nürburgring. He relentlessly pursued the leader, lap after lap. In the last moments of the race, he pulled ahead to take the checkered flag. This was a major embarrassment for the Germans, an indication that their dreams of dominating the sporting world might not pan out. Hitler didn't heed the subtle warning that people could prevail over machines, and plunged the world into war in 1939. Needless to say, motor racing came to a halt as the sounds of bombs and cannons replaced the cheers of fans across Europe. After the war, the European auto industry was in ruins. Ferrari retreated to a shop in Maranello and began to build his own cars. Finally, he had the opportunity to realize his dreams. He was free to make cars that incorporated everything he'd learned about racing. It would take 2 years of hard work to fashion the first Ferrari. The 125 rolled out in 1947, and the world took notice. Only 3 of these lightweight and fast cars were built. They were elegant and distinctive. The interior was bare bones. Just the essentials necessary for competition driving were included: bucket seats, a 5-speed gearbox, and a steering wheel. Their most outstanding feature was a Joule-like V12 engine that turned out 72 brake horsepower with its 125cc displacement per cylinder. Thus the name the 125. The roar of the V12 became a Ferrari signature. The 3 cars started to win races. They won at the Rome Grand Prix and in Palma. 2 had sports car bodies and 1 was a tight cigar shape with cycle fenders. This car won the Turin Grand Prix. The cars were modified by boring out the engines to 166 cc's per cylinder. The Turin winner became known as a Type 166. The first car is thought to have disappeared, but the second car eventually ended up in the garage of a proud California collector. This is considered to be the oldest surviving Ferrari. It was raced in Argentina, but eventually made it back to Italy. After many years of racing, it was brought to America and restored. It set the stage for all Ferraris that followed. By 1950, Italian motorsports had fully recovered from the war. Ferrari was not the only racing team. His former benefactor, Alfa Romeo, was heating up the competition. They took a page from Ferrari's playbook and pursued the world's best drivers. Top of their list was Argentinian Juan Manuel Fangio. Fangio and his Alfa seemed unstoppable. Ferrari didn't give up. In 1951, he took on Alfa at the British Grand Prix. His new cars beat Fangio and the Alfa Romeos. By 1953, Ferrari was on his way. He was producing an array of cars. This one, a 250mm with a body by the designer Vignali, was specifically built to compete in the 1,000-mile road race, the Mille Miglia. Thus the designation MM. Only 18 Vignali Spiders were built. These 12-cylinder cars were more advanced than almost anything else on the road. Not all Ferraris were red. This 1953 375mm was painted in the pale blue and yellow colors of Argentina, where it was successfully raced from 1954 until 1957. Its 4.5-litre engine produced over 300 horsepower. It was capable of speeds in excess of 160 miles per hour. If you have a spare $3 million, this is the perfect car for historic racing. Ferrari constantly experimented. He was never satisfied. He thought he needed a lighter engine and tried 4-cylinder engines, like the one in this 1953 500 Mondial. The cars came in different shapes and sizes. Stylists like Pininfarina made Ferrari's cars so beautiful that people stopped just to stare at them. While interested in beauty, Ferrari was driven and determined to win. He produced road cars only to make money so he could be successful at racing. His passion and determination paid off. Ferrari was winning. In 1952 and 53, Alberto Ascari took the team to the winner's circle in every race they entered. Ferrari had become bigger than life, the giant legend to go after. But his old nemesis, Mercedes, had revived its racing efforts and was poised to topple Ferrari. They hired Fangio away to pilot their powerful machines. Fangio could average 120 miles per hour in a race and demolish the competition. Mercedes and Ferrari were pushing the limits of what could safely be driven on the tracks of that era. A string of accidents horrified the public. Alfa alone lost 3 drivers. Then, in 1955, a Mercedes veered off the course at Le Mans and tore through the crowd. Over 80 spectators died. This series of tragedies prompted Alfa Romeo, Lancia and Mercedes-Benz to withdraw from Grand Prix racing. This left the field wide open for Ferrari.